DeWanna Bonner just broke her 6-month Twitter silence, and she didn't come back with a casual, "Hey, I'm back" post. No, she dropped a bombshell that has the whole WNBA talking. Not only is she joining the Indiana Fever, but she's also flipping the script on the most tired narrative out there. You know the one. Caitlin Clark and Indiana Fever fans are toxic. Yeah, that's gone now, as Bonner buried it with one tweet. This WNBA offseason with a lot of dumbass narratives, right? They really get, and I hope they're gone for good, and I hope we spend so much less time discussing nonsense, but I think we've seen it stamped out this offseason, and one of those narratives was people wouldn't want to go to the Fever because of the Fever fan base. Now, you might be thinking, isn't that the team everyone loves to hate? Well, Bonner's not having it. She hit send on a tweet that's shaking the league to its core. And trust me, it's about more than just basketball. It goes to show you that I think hopefully all that stuff has been put in the rear view, and of course Bonner is a pro. Picture this. Bonner scrolling through her phone, probably sipping on some coffee, when she stumbles across the usual nonsense. Fans trashing her for signing with Indiana, the haters saying no one wants to play for the Fever, and the so-called experts still clinging to the narrative like it's the last slice of pizza at a party. But instead of ignoring it, Bonner snapped. She didn't just clap back. She obliterated that weak narrative with the precision of one of her signature shot blocks. Her tweet, pure gold. She didn't just defend herself. She went all in for Indiana Fever fans. Bonner basically said, "Y'all are loud, passionate, and real." That's not toxic. That's what real fandom looks like. She didn't stop there. She called out the hypocrisy too. How is it that when other fan bases are passionate, it's support, but when Indiana does it, it's something else? Make it make sense. She's gone online for 2 times. One is to call out the crazy people attacking her right now because she joined a Fever, and here's why this matters. Bonner isn't just some rookie trying to make headlines. She's a champion, one of the legends of the game, and a walking bucket. And when she speaks, the whole league listens. This isn't just some player venting online. This is a respected leader calling out the nonsense. She's seen it all in the WNBA, and she's not afraid to say what everyone's been thinking. You know, Fever fans are probably starving for that, and I think seeing the validation of the players choosing their team. But here's the plot twist. Her tweet wasn't just about the fans. Bonner basically put the entire league on notice. She made it clear, Indiana isn't just some team struggling to stay relevant. With Caitlin Clark leading the charge, the Fever are building something special, and Bonner's here for it. She's not just joining a team, she's joining a movement. And guess what? The response has been overwhelming. Fans are rallying behind her. Fever supporters are louder than ever, and even players from other teams are jumping in to show love. The narrative flipped completely, being all a branch to us all, to focus on the basketball. But I did think it was worth sharing simply because I know a lot of those fans, the new fans, felt rejected and beaten down a lot, and I think this is symbolic. Now, all those haters who swore no one wanted to play for Indiana are scrambling, pretending they never said a word. Meanwhile, Bonner, Caitlin Clark, and the Fever are out here plotting their next move, and spoiler alert, it's going to be legendary. You know, no argument that the Fever are a great basketball destination. That Caitlin Clark is a great basketball. You've probably heard about the so-called Indiana Fever fan controversy, but do you really know the whole story? It all started when Alyssa Thomas, Bonner's own wife, decided to stir the pot. She claimed that Fever fans were so scary, players were avoiding the team like it was some kind of basketball wasteland. But here's the plot twist. Despite all that noise, star players are literally lining up to join the Fever. DeWanna Bonner, Natasha Howard. These aren't just role players. These are certified WNBA stars. They saw the so-called toxic fan base headlines and said, yeah, sign me up anyway. Now let's talk facts. The numbers? They don't lie. Fever fan engagement is through the roof. We're talking sold-out arenas, merch flying off the shelves, and social media buzzing like it's draft night every day. This fan base isn't toxic. It's electric. And let's not forget the Caitlin Clark effect. This isn't just a player making waves. She's a tsunami. Clark isn't just bringing in new fans. She's converting casuals into diehards. The same team people called irrelevant a few years ago is now the hottest ticket in town. It's like judging an entire library because one book had a torn page. Make it make sense. So what's really going on here? Is the Fever fan base as mean as a few salty players claim? Absolutely not. Every team's got a couple of bad apples. That's sports. But let's be real, those people don't define the culture. The fan base is passionate. And that passion is exactly what's fueling the Fever's rise. And a lot of fans, I think, felt unwelcome as a result of that, because when you look at every sport and every fan base, there are going to be bad apples. With every group of people, there are. And the larger that group becomes, of course, then the larger the small percentage of bad apples are. But if you've ever followed sports, you see people acting stupid online or even live at game. Here's the reality. Why are star players suddenly flocking to Indiana? It's simple. They see the vision. They know what's cooking in that front office. Maybe it's the chance to win, maybe it's the endorsements, or maybe, just maybe, they realized that Indiana Fever fans are the backbone of something special, not the problem. The WNBA's landscape is shifting, and Indiana's at the center of it. So, to the haters, keep talking. Because while you're busy tweeting, the Fever are busy winning. Think about it for a second. If the Indiana Fever's fan base was really that terrible, would top-tier players be lining up to sign contracts? Yeah, I didn't think so. It's almost like the narrative some people push doesn't match reality. Shocking, right? What these athletes see is something completely different from the tired old headlines. You might think you've got the full story about the Indiana Fever, but there's a comeback happening right now that nobody predicted. Remember when people acted like the Fever were some kind of basketball wasteland? What changed? Let's break down how Indiana flipped the script and silenced the haters. First, we've got to talk about Caitlin Clark. She's not just a superstar, she's a walking headline, a sellout crowd magnet, and the kind of player who can single-handedly turn a struggling franchise into must-see TV. The energy she's brought to the Fever is unreal. The stands, packed, the merch, flying off shelves. Suddenly, Indiana looks like the place every player wants to be. But here's where it gets even juicier. It's not just about Clark. A culture was built, thanks to the Fab Four of Clark, Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell, and Lexi Hull. A culture of teamwork, camaraderie, and selflessness. That's why all-stars, veterans, and fan favorites are flocking to Indiana like it's the hottest new club. DeWanna Bonner, Sydney Colson, Natasha Howard, Sophie Cunningham, big names with big games. These aren't players looking for a paycheck. They're looking for a legacy. And they see it in Indiana. Why? Because winning teams attract winners. When a franchise starts making noise, it comes with perks. National TV games, sold-out arenas, endorsement deals, you name it. Players aren't just thinking about their next layup. They're thinking about building their brand, securing their future, and maybe even adding a few extra commas to their bank accounts. No argument that the Fever are a great basketball destination, that Caitlin Clark is a great basketball player, that they have a great fan base. I guess that's ultimately what you're going to see, right? Because so many of those Fever fans, I've seen them, they're the ones watching Unrivaled. They're the ones watching women's college basketball. Others too. Now, I know what some people are thinking. Isn't this all just hype? Well, if it's hype, it's the most effective marketing campaign in sports history, because the Fever went from nobody cares to everybody's watching in a matter of one season. And you better believe the experts are paying attention. Analysts who used to dismiss Indiana are now scrambling to figure out how they pulled this off. Then Sydney Colson, who was on the Aces, and so many of the Aces fans were always, kind of, and Colson chooses the Indiana Fever. It really does. I do think the BS is behind us, which is just great. But here's the secret. It's not just hype. It's a movement. The Fever aren't just a team anymore. They're a statement, a symbol of what happens when you combine raw talent, a passionate fan base, and a front office that actually knows what they're doing. This isn't about luck, it's about vision. These players aren't joining Indiana because of some fleeting social media buzz. They're here because they see the potential, they see the future, and most importantly, they see wins on the horizon. So yeah, maybe in years past people were clowning the Fever. Now, the joke's on them. Indiana isn't just back, they're leading the charge, and if you blink, you'll miss the revolution happening right in front of your eyes. This isn't just a big moment for the Indiana Fever. It's a seismic shift shaking the foundation of the entire WNBA. Players aren't just choosing teams based on contracts anymore. They're looking at culture, fan engagement, and where they can leave a legacy. It's not just about playing games, it's about becoming a legend. And let's be real for a second. DeWanna Bonner's move. That's not just another free agency signing, that's a statement. She saw the drama, the noise, the so-called toxic fan base talk, and basically said, yeah, I'm betting on Indiana. And when a champion, someone with rings, receipts, and real clout, makes a move like that, the whole league takes notice. The courage it takes to do that? Unmatched. We're talking about a player who's been through battles on the court, but decided the real fight was off the court this time, which is just great. That's great for all of those fan bases I just mentioned, right? Like, it should be great. I mean, I know the Aces fans have had a tough time, but it should be great for any fan of the game, any fan of the sport, any fan of the WNBA actually growing. Because anybody who was focusing so much of their energy on that, come on. Like, you don't actually love the sport. You weren't actually talking about the game or the players. Now you might be thinking, okay, but what's the big deal about one player defending some fans? Well, let me tell you, it's huge. Bonner's stand isn't just about Indiana Fever fans. It's about flipping the narrative for the entire league. She's forcing players, coaches, and even those crusty old analysts who think they know everything to rethink how they talk about teams and their supporters. But here's where things get really wild. Bonner's move isn't just reshaping Indiana, it's reshaping the WNBA landscape. Remember when the storyline was, nobody wants to play for the Fever? Yeah, that narrative just got dunked on like it owed someone money. Bonner's signing shows that Indiana isn't just some afterthought, it's the place to be. And the ripple effect. Other stars are watching, thinking, wait, maybe Indiana is where it's at. Well, yeah, it's just a mad situation. I don't know if the DeWanna Bonner actually had to come out on Twitter to talk about it. She doesn't even use the app. Again, the last time she tweeted was June, after the Sky fans went berserk at her on social media because of the illicit homage choke slamming injuries. And this goes beyond Indiana. This whole situation is igniting conversations about fan culture across the league. Instead of fixating on a few loud negative voices, people are finally starting to celebrate the passion and dedication that real fans bring to the table. Imagine the impact that could have on the WNBA as a whole, shifting the focus from negativity to genuine fan love. Bonner's bold stand is also changing how players interact with fans and the media. She's showing that it's okay to speak up, challenge the narrative, and stand by your choices. That's a game changer in a league where athletes are often expected to just smile, nod, and keep it moving. And guess what? Other players are paying attention. It's like Bonner opened the floodgates, and now everyone's rethinking how they engage with fans and how they view team culture. We might be on the brink of a whole new era in the WNBA, all because one player decided to take a stand. Even without DeWanna Bonner, I would have thought the Fever were one of the favorites to win last year, even without her. So with her, surety to have to win. Win more games they had last year. But it's like, you basically replaced, like last year the first game was starting Erica Wheeler at the 1, Caitlin at the 2, Katie at the 3, and Alyssa Smith and Leah Boston, it's just so much better, no matter what. Picture the domino effect. Players feeling genuinely supported, fans more engaged than ever, and the league riding a wave of positivity. It's like Bonner lit a match, and now the whole WNBA is ablaze with excitement. Can you believe how one player's decision can ripple through an entire league? So, what's next? Is this the end of all the WNBA drama, or are we just getting started? Let's be honest, with the league growing, evolving, and breaking barriers like never before, this is just the beginning.